There's a certain kind of truth that only spills out after midnight. The kind of truth that it doesn't survive daylight or office hours. It lives in the margins, like graffiti behind a gas station, or the ashtray of a car that's seen too many late-night drive-thrus and not enough oil changes. This is for those of us who never felt at home in a church pew, but found God or something like it in the bottom of a Dunkin' Donuts cup at 2:14 a.m. while sitting cross-legged on a cracked parking lot with the engine still ticking warm. This is for the kids who had nowhere else to go, so they parked and talked, and something real happened. But before we get into it, please like, subscribe, and don't be a poser. Some people went to youth group or therapy. We went to the parking lot of a dying Kmart. Gas station burritos, clove cigarettes, 6-packs of lukewarm swill, and a half a tank of gas that we couldn't afford to burn. It wasn't romantic, but it was honest. No velvet ropes, no bouncers, no social media vulnerability, just gravel under your ass and the glow of a buzzing street lamp, and groups of friends who knew when not to speak. We didn't need plans, we just needed space. The parking lot gave it to us every single time. We weren't philosophers, but we said things that would have made the Pope flinch. Stuff like, if you die in your sleep, does your brain know you were ever alive? Or, I think these mushrooms are making me believe in aliens. And we didn't laugh at that stuff. We nodded, took a drag. We let the silence grow thick because somewhere inside that absurdity was something real. We were trying to crack the code of being human with half a deck of cards and no instruction manual. And weirdly, it worked for a while. Out there, everything felt stranger, lighter and heavier at the same time. It was neutral space, the world's waiting room, and we were stuck in it with gas fumes and stale fries and 1,000 revelations. Most of the people I've ever loved either found themselves in a parking lot or lost themselves in one, often both on the same night. Some kissed, some cried, some confessed sins they'd never say sober or in daylight. None of it was wasted, because every cigarette flicked into the gutter, every secret whispered through fogged windows, it all meant something. And in a world that constantly demands meaning, that was enough. We had names like Chiba, April, Jax, Thea. Kids who looked like trouble but felt like home. Chiba once lit a joint using the coil from a car lighter and said, "You can't overdose on this stuff, but I've been trying." Jax didn't talk too much unless someone mentioned her brother, who disappeared in the army and came back as a ghost. And Thea used to climb on the roof of the elementary school and scream poems into the wind. Called it skywriting for the broken. You don't meet those kinds of people in Pilates class. You meet them at 2 a.m. when nothing's left but whatever's real. There's a thing that happens when the hour gets late and the air gets still. It's like the rules get suspended. Time stretches. You stop worrying about whether you look tired or sound weird, or if your dad's going to ask where the hell you've been. You just exist, breathing, talking, listening, feeling. That's the one thing we used to do better than the generations that came after. We felt without filters. We didn't need 5 apps and a wellness podcast to open up. We just opened the damn car door and let it all out. Raw, ugly, and perfect. We didn't use words like trauma or anxiety. We just said, man, it's been a crazy week, and let the silence do the rest. We didn't analyze each other, we just sat there. Which is kind of a medicine all its own. I've seen people cry over songs they pretended they didn't like. I've seen heartbreaks get unpacked between sips of flat soda. I've seen one dude, high off his ass and broke as hell, suddenly say, "I think I just need someone to tell me I'm not a piece of shit." And we did, because sometimes that's the cure. There was no audience, no algorithm. The only feedback we got was a nod, a laugh, a sigh, or a simple damn. That's how you know it landed. That's how you knew it mattered. We weren't auditioning for each other. We were just unraveling at our own pace. Like cassette tapes on a hot dashboard, melting but still playing the song. We didn't want solutions. We wanted to bleed slow, to talk about things too raw for day jobs or polite dinners. How we felt broken, how we felt brilliant, how How we thought maybe we'd already missed our shot and we were only 19. Loneliness hits different in a parking lot. It doesn't scream, it hums, quiet, like the buzz from a flickering sign, like the moment when a friend steps out of the car to take a piss, and you're left staring at the condensation on the windshield, wondering if anyone actually knows who you are. But then they come back, toss a half-eaten candy bar in your lap, and say, "You good?" Suddenly that weight just lifts. Not because the world changed, but because someone noticed you were still there. That kind of grace, you don't get that on a group chat. Some of the best conversations didn't involve words at all. There was a language in the sighs, the play with lists, the way someone stared too long at the sky without blinking. You learn to read your friends without trying, like tarot cards. That twitch in their jaw, that laugh that sounds too hollow, it all meant something. We didn't always have the guts to ask what's really going on, so we just stayed in the parking lot all night. Sometimes presence is the only answer. Sometimes to just shut up and sit there is the most profound act of love. And we did love each other, even if none of us would have said it at the time. We all brought ghosts with us. Dead friends, dead dreams. That teacher who said we'd never make it. The ex who still haunted our playlists. We didn't leave our baggage at the door. We laid it out across the hood and dissected it under that hazy yellow streetlight like it was a map to salvation. One kid had a picture of his mom who OD'd. He left it on the dash like a shrine. Another confessed he was stealing from his job just to buy gas to come hang out with us, like showing up with some sacred duty. Maybe it was. We didn't fall in love at the movies. We fell in love in parking lots. Love that smelled like gas and sweat. Love that sounded like mixtapes made on recorded over cassettes. Love that was never official because it ended before sunrise. It was messy, it was fleeting, but it was real. I watched two people fall for each other over a bag of Doritos and a shared hatred for the offspring. They kissed, broke up. A week later, still showed up to the lot like nothing happened. Because the conversations were bigger than the romance. The parking lot always mattered more. And part of the beauty of those nights is that they didn't last. The fries got cold, the buzz wore off. Someone had to work at 6 a.m. or get home before their mom got back from work. But in the moment, those conversations felt infinite. Like maybe we were the last people on Earth and we had to say everything before the sun came up. We thought we were wasting time. Turns out we were archiving our souls. We didn't show up looking for lessons, but damn, we learned some. How to throw fists or slip away unnoticed when the town football team invaded the parking lot, drunk, calling us freaks or skate fags. How to sit in silence and not make it weird. How to admit we were scared without turning it into a punchline. How to be there for someone when we had nothing to give but a lit bowl in our ears. Nobody lectured us. Nobody handed us pamphlets or PowerPoints. Mostly we just talked. And that talking shaped us more than any guidance counselor ever did. That raw exchange of who we were and what we were trying to be. It carved something honest into us, deep, like etching names into stone. Some songs hit harder when they echoed off the windshield at 2 a.m. A Cure track playing low through busted speakers could rip your guts out more than 1,000 therapy sessions. A poorly recorded tape with Sharpie scrawls was sacred text. We didn't just play music, we translated it, broke it down, argued about lyrics, told stories about what each song meant to us at 14 or 17, or the night someone didn't come home. That's how you learn someone, not by asking questions, but by what they played when nobody was talking. We didn't need to take pictures of it. We didn't need to post about it. Hell, half the nights I don't even remember what I said, but I remember 100% exactly how I felt. The safety, the clarity, the weird quiet joy of finally saying something that had been rotting in your ribcage for years and hearing someone else say, "Yeah, me too." It wasn't magic. It was presence. The rare electric feeling of being totally locked in with the people around you. Not distracted, not selling anything, just being there, fully, sloppily, and beautifully. We weren't running away from life. We were running toward it. These nights weren't detours. They were the real road. Everything else, school, jobs, SATs, that was background noise. But these 2 a.m. talks, they were loud. They were blood and bone level truth. That parking lot became our proving ground, our test lab, our lighthouse. We showed up because we had nowhere else that let us be exactly who we were. No edits, no resumes, no polish. Just whatever was real and bleeding through the seams. And somehow the people we became were shaped right there on that cracked pavement. So, I don't believe in golden ages. Not really. But I wonder if some kid out there is parked outside a Dollar Tree right now, engine off, hoodie pulled up, talking to their best friends about whether anything actually matters. And I hope the hell the answer isn't on TikTok. I hope they still pass mixtapes on USB drives or whatever they're using now. I hope someone's still quoting Fight Club between rants about capitalism. I hope someone's crying in the front seat while their friends pretend not to notice, but stay around anyway. Because someone stayed for us. They'll say it was just a phase, just young people killing time, but they're wrong. It was a language, it was a ritual, a secret handshake written in stories, streetlights, and fast food wrappers. And once you speak that language, you never forget it. You'll be 40, stuck in traffic, and suddenly you'll remember something someone said at 2:37 a.m. in 1992. And it'll hit you like a punch to the heart. Because some words don't fade. Some nights stay lit forever, even if the parking lot's been bulldozed and turned into a PetSmart. You could go back to that same lot today. It wouldn't be the same. Different cars, different kids. The light bulb that used to flicker is probably fixed, or maybe it's burned out for good. But if you know how to really listen, you'll still hear it. The faint echo of something holy that once happened there. Laughter laced with pain. The unfiltered sound of souls stretching just far enough to make room for hope. We didn't take selfies, we left fingerprints. And some nights you can still feel them, pressed into the hood of a long-gone car. Sometimes people say, nobody talks like that anymore, but I don't buy that. Somewhere right now, someone's saying too much, oversharing in the best possible way. Opening up to a friend who's barely hanging on. Cracking open a story they swore they'd never tell. Maybe they're not doing it in a parking lot. Maybe it's a Discord chat, a 24-hour diner, or the back steps of an apartment building that always smells like weed and regret. The point is, it's still happening. Truth doesn't need permission. It just needs a little space and someone willing to sit in the dark long enough to hear it. We didn't leave those nights empty-handed. We walked away with phrases burned into our minds, with songs that still make us tear up 30 years later, with memories so vivid they show up in dreams wearing flannel and reeking of patchouli. We learned that sometimes all you need is a night, a car, and friends who aren't afraid to say, my curfew was 3 hours ago. We learned that showing up is a language all its own. We also learned that the best thing in life aren't always posted, archived, or remembered by the masses. Sometimes they just happened. So if you're listening to this and thinking, damn, I missed it, let me tell you, you didn't. You can still pull over. You can still sit with someone at midnight and talk about what scared you. You can still crack your chest open under the stars and let something beautiful crawl out. You can still make space, still hold truth, and still listen. It's not about nostalgia. It's about presence, and that door never closes. So find your parking lot, find your people, and stay a while. You'd be surprised at what still needs to be said. So, here's to parking lots, the cracked ones, the empty ones, the forgotten ones that heard more truth than any courtroom ever did. Here's to the laughter, the pain, the breakdowns, the inside jokes no one else would ever get if you tried to explain. Here's to every friend who stuck around when they didn't have to. To every 2 a.m. that turned into 4 a.m. and it felt like 5 minutes. To every conversation that reminded you, you're not alone in this chaotic, beautiful mess. And if nobody's told you lately, I hope you find those nights again. Because the best conversations we ever had were at 2 a.m. in a parking lot. This is Slack Signal X, broadcasting until the streetlights go out.